We're live?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Good morning, everybody. Or I guess it's noon? It's noon. So good afternoon, everybody. I just told Santoro, like, yeah, I'm ready whenever. And then he gave me a 3, 2, 1 countdown about 1 second later. And I was like, oh, we're going that fast. Welcome to another Chip Theory live stream coming at you with a quick Q&A, or it might be a long Q&A, who knows. And then we're going to have a focus right after my Q&A. We're going to have a focus on conventions for 2024. We have our entire, we've got a team of about 3 folks that are kind of our permanent convention staff. And they are all here on site.
They won't all be on camera.
I know, they're not all going to be on camera. Yep. But we have them on site to be talking about convention planning for 2024. And we've got Brandon Osborne, who none of you have ever met unless you've been to a convention and met him kind of run in front of house at one of our conventions. But he and Andrew Santoro will be on right after me to talk about convention plans for 2024. We are going to be asking if you're interested in volunteering, helping, teaching, etc. at any of the conventions this year. We'll be putting a shout out and a link to sign up, and
Link's in the description.
the link is in the description right now. So if you are interested in helping out at the Chip Theory booth at any convention this year, you can already go and fill out that form. But yeah, I don't know. We're just going to be kind of hyping up conventions, hyping up 2024. And if you have any questions for Santoro or Brandon, you can also ask those now already in the chat, and they will cover them after this opening Q&A with yours truly. So good afternoon, everybody. It's been a very eventful week here at CTG. We announced Cloudspire Harbinger, and I'm already bracing myself that most of the questions that I'll probably be asked will be along those lines. But Cloudspire Harbinger, it's happening. The final, probably, almost certainly. We're planning it as the final slice of Cloudspire content coming to GameFound later this year, this fall specifically, likely October, November-ish, depending on how development kind of comes along. It will be after Essen. Speaking of conventions, we're not going to try and run another Cloudspire campaign during Essen because that was an actual nightmare. Cue the house music for those of you who have been longtime CTG fans and are in the know. So it'll be sometime after Essen this fall, and it will be the last Cloudspire campaign that we are likely to ever run. We've had things kind of bubbling and brewing in the background for it for the past 2 years, I think. And really what it was all about was trying to find a space to bring it to life, both in our campaign cycle, both in our development cycle. And as most of you are aware, the Elder Scrolls has kind of fully and completely consumed the entire company over the course of the last 3 years. And we finally have some space for it, a little bit of breathing room, and so we're going to do it. We're going to hopefully put that final beautiful bow on the Cloudspire franchise as you know it right now. And I don't have a whole lot of other details that I can share right now because, and this is not us playing coy, this is not us trying to hide information. We genuinely don't fully know yet exactly what content we're bringing to the table. I can tell you that we have factions, plural, that are in development, and we are kind of right now, even in this last week, going through the process of vetting those factions and making sure that we know exactly which ones are good enough to bring out to continue to develop, and so along those lines, that will largely also affect like how the storyline shapes up. So I know, folks have, at least on Discord, have had questions about lore books and that kind of thing, story, novella, all that kind of thing. Because we're still early enough in this process in terms of what factions and what content we're going to even release, I don't have a lot of answers to that end for you at this exact moment. But before we jump into full-on and we're already kind of starting to jump into full-on Roth marketing mode. we wanted to make sure we got that announcement out. And so on my last stream, I knew that announcement was coming. But we didn't have the key piece of art for it yet. We hadn't fully committed to a 20 strong deck yet. But now you know. Cloudspire Harbinger coming this fall. And there is a 20 strong deck. That 20 strong deck is already playable, and it's already really great. So we're really excited about that as well. Adam Carlson has been working hard on the 20 strong Cloudspire deck, and it's shaping up very nicely. And I can confirm that it does indeed feel like Cloudspire, which is always the goal of our 20 strong decks that are based on another IP. We want them to feel like a sort of trimmed down, streamlined version of that larger IP. I think the Hoplo and TMB decks do a great job of that. And I think this Cloudspire deck is shaping up to do much the same. So, so we announced that. Other things that have just been happening around the office, in addition to our convention staff being here for convention planning. We got a whole bunch of neoprene this week from our manufacturer over in China. And there is a lot of cool Elder Scrolls neoprene and a lot of cool Roth neoprene that we are excited to show off. So I think I'll just hold this stuff up to the camera just so you can see it. But we got some of the new Clash mats for Elder Scrolls, which we have not shown in an update yet. So we'll be talking about these in the next update, along with the big playmat, which I'm going to show you in a second as best as I can. It's like too large for the camera. But so this is, we've got kind of the swamp. This is Valenwood art for the Clash mat right here. And they made a mistake. These are not supposed to be the same art on both sides. So again, we're still in prototype stage, but here's the Valenwood swamp. Lots of fungus going on. We've got the Skyrim art right here, Clash mat going on, which is beautiful. Actually, maybe this is Morrowind. I have to check. Yeah, that's Morrowind. Sorry, this is Morrowind. I'll hold it up again. Morrowind. The mushrooms should have been a dead giveaway, but are you gonna try and show them on the top down? You want me to try and show them on the top down?
Oh, no, the top down is upside down.
Oh, okay. Top down is upside down. Okay. And then, so here's Valenwood. Here's the Valenwood swampy, gloomy area going on. So this is new. We haven't shown this art yet in any updates. So again, that will be coming in the next Elder Scrolls update, probably in the next week to 2 weeks-ish. On top of that, we have the giant, where'd it go? Oh, it's right here. I put it on the table. Like, Centaur, you stole it from me. We have the giant Elder Scrolls big playmat. And again, I'm not going to be able to show this very well on camera. You'll get a much better look at it in the update that's coming. But as folks who are in our Discord already know, it has grown in size. It has grown in size. I can't remember what we advertised it being on the campaign itself. I think the same size as our Burn Cycle mat. Elder Scrolls is a table hog, and so the final mat dimensions, almost certainly, this is not set completely in stone yet, but the final mat dimensions on this bad boy are 3 feet by 5 feet, 36 inches by 60 inches. Somebody posted in Discord what the metric breakdown on that is in terms of centimeters. For people who use sensible measuring around the world. I do not remember what the centimeters measurement was, but 3 by 5, I'm sure somebody in the comments will quickly do that math, throw it into a Google converter, and tell you what the centimeter measurements are. It's large. So already there is at least one of you, I'm sure, watching this that is like, that's bigger than my game table. And we understand that. So just know, if the insane size of this mat is suddenly not usable for you in your own personal game space, know that we will be offering folks a chance to get refunds on that and that kind of thing once we put out the updates again in a week or two. So don't be alarmed. If you have gone in for the all-in bundle and you are not able to accommodate the mat, that we can't do much about. We can help you downgrade to a smaller bundle. But just know that we're here to help take care of any customers via our support channel. So I'm going to attempt to unroll this thing, and it's enormous. So
Stan, you want us to hold it behind
That might actually be the best.
What's that?
So let's show the gameplay side first. So it's got two sides. Yeah, well, you guys got it? I'm going to roll out of the way, actually, for a second. So look at that. Look at that monster. So you've got, again, your clashes and your dungeons and your end game setups all fit in this area right here in the middle. You've got the stack for the biggest dungeon tiles right there. You put your map here. Player mats, class, and race cards here. You've got item, loot cards, etc. there. It's a beast. Okay, and then the other side is much more plain and generic, so that you can kind of use it for almost any game with, upside down. And there you go. So that's the current design, and obviously we'll be looking for feedback and stuff on from backers. We have shown playmats, large playmats before, like our Too Many Bones one, that I know folks had strong opinions on various sides. So again, these are pretty close to final, but we'll be looking for feedback from our backers. So anyway, giant playmat for Elder Scrolls. There you go. Thank you, Amanda and Santoro, for helping show that off. On top of that, and by the way, I only have one question on my screen right now, so please ask me some questions when I'm done with this long preamble, so that I have something to answer. But in addition to that, Roth, our collaboration, our first collaboration with Manny Tremblay is coming to GameFound on March 12th. The campaign will launch at 10 o'clock a.m. Central Time Zone, and on GameFound, and we'll be amping up significantly. We'll be amping up significantly the amount of talk and promotion of Roth. We got our sample prototype neoprene for Roth as well, which Santoro can probably cut to on the top-down camera here in a second. These are not final. These are truly prototype, and there's already some changes that we would like to make on these. Not going to have time to make those changes in time for the campaign, but just know, this is prototype stage. So Roth is a faction-based area control game, and it is the most snappy and streamlined multiplayer game that we have ever put out. I think it plays 1 to 4 player. It is fully PvP. It is fully soloable. It is fully cooperative at all of those. It's not cooperative or PvP at 1 player, but at all player counts aside from solo. You can play cooperative, you can play PvP, etc. It's great. It can be taught and learned and played all in about an hour and a half. And if you already know how to play it, it can easily be played in an hour. That's not a joke. That's not an exaggeration. It is a quick to learn, quick to play, asymmetrical faction-based area control game from the mind of Manny Tremblay, with some assistance on co-op and solo design from our team here at internally at CTG. Primarily, actually, Adam Carlson has been working heavily on the solo and co-op portion of the game. So each faction has their own mat and their own kind of deal going on. Now, in the final version, each side of the mat will have alternate art. There's a couple of these factions that we don't have the art in yet for their flip side. So every mat has a PvP side and then a solo co-op side that you can see. So this is the solo co-op side, because A, B, and C will have certain callouts depending on the AI for the game. And then this is your PvP side, where you store your elite troops. So the game is played with every faction has basic troops, and every faction has elite troops. The elite troops are represented by dice, which is what these little sections on every mat are kind of calling out. That's your staging area for the various elite troop dice. And then every faction also has a once per game ability that they can trigger that is extremely, extremely powerful. So you guys have heard me talk before about, if we could go back and do Cloudspire over again, we probably wouldn't include all these game modes. Part of that is the cost of Cloudspire, and it's hard to market a $150 game where you can't clearly delineate exactly what it's doing and exactly what it's for, and trying to explain all the game modes gets confusing. I think Roth is going to be the opposite, where it's going to be an MSRP of around $65 ish. We're still playing with that a little bit, but it's going to be an MSRP of around $65 for the base game, and I think the amount of game modes and gameplay that's available inside that box is actually going to be a huge boon to Roth because you get a whole lot for your money. So again, there's the alternate art side on the Eldin. I'll show a couple more of these. We've got the guild here, PvP side. There's your solo co-op side. And then you've seen the Runin art before. I don't know that we've shown the Coda yet. So the Coda have this weird transformation thing going on where they ceremonially turn into these like grizzled bear-like creatures. So you got the paw print here, little bear silhouette, and on the other side you can see there's their bear grizzled transformation. And then I think on the GameFound page right now we are highlighting the Vena on the box, but the box has changed, which you guys will see once we get the prototype here. The Vena, they work with cauldrons on the map, and they can actually revive units, which is kind of their big thing. So Roth is going to be a different kind of thing for CTG, and I think it's going to massively appeal to a lot of folks, and there may be some other folks who feel like it's a fairly radical departure from the kind of games that we normally make, which is fine. But it's trying to fill a very specific place in our catalog, which is still doing the CTG kind of overproduction thing. Still amazing art, still asymmetrical, still very deep gameplay, still soloable, etc. But it can be taught and played much more quickly, and it should, we believe, have a lot more kind of mainstream appeal than the hyper crunchy, very long to play, very intense to teach kind of stuff that Chip Theory has made previously. So we're really excited about it. Manny Tremblay is here right now. He's not here in the stream right now, but he's out there. They're talking through some of the changes to some of the factions and Neoprene, etc. And again, look forward to that launching on March 12th. It's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be a good one. So that's kind of what's been going on in the CTG offices this last week. For anyone watching, wondering about Hoplo Pandora's Box, still very much on schedule. I'll be putting out an update to that end, hopefully, possibly even today, possibly tomorrow. We haven't really been working on it because the graphics team has mostly been on Elder Scrolls, and we're just kind of waiting for a space to lay out all of the Hoplo stuff, but it is still very much on schedule to deliver this fall as advertised on the campaign. We built in time in that timeline to allow for Elder Scrolls to kind of wrap so that our graphics team could move on to Hoplo. So there you go. That's kind of all the things. That's all the things right now. So I'm going to hop into some questions. If you have other questions that you have not asked yet, please ask them now, because I'm going to kind of go down the line and see what's going on. So, also from Shannon, if you haven't seen it in the chat, we do have a Roth page on BGG now. So you can go follow the game, go like the game, go talk about the game on BGG. Again, we'll be ramping up promotion for it in a significant way. We have prototypes on the way, and these are going to be the most buttoned up prototypes we've ever had on a game, especially a new IP going into a new campaign. They are being airshipped from our manufacturer right now. We don't know exactly when they're going to land, but they do have some, not all, but they have some of the dice, like with actual heat transfer printing on them. We have the actual like little troop units that are not chips in this game. They're little like plastic gems and hexes and that kind of thing. And then also has some of the score tokens. And we're hoping, I'm not going to promise this, but we are hoping that we can stream some Roth gameplay possibly next Thursday with those prototypes if they arrive in time. We believe they will, but we're not promising it yet until they actually get here. So anyway, look forward to that. All right. Can it / parentheses Roth be an aggressive game? Is it a area control game with aggressive play style? Yes. That's the answer to that question, yes. There's dice drafting involved. So your action selection is, and for those of you who have played Trip Lock, this game is nothing like Trip Lock for that matter, but if you ever played Trip Lock, you know that you roll 2 dice and you can either take the 2 actions that are on those dice, or you can sacrifice them both to do one action of your choice. The dice drafting in Roth works much the same. There are a slate of, I think, 5 actions, if I'm remembering correctly, that are available to every player that are rolled on dice, and you draft those actions in turn order, or you can sacrifice both your dice that you draft to take one action of your choice. Depending on the dice rolls, that often affects like how aggressive factions are or aren't. And then again, depending on how willing you are to sacrifice those actions that are available to you to take a more aggressive action. But you have to be fairly aggressive in this game because it doesn't stick around all that long. So you have about an hour to get your stuff done and score points. And so every game that I've ever played, I've actually played very aggressively personally. So there you go. Oh, hold on.
Last Roth things that I'll mention when I come on camera again. Roth is going to be at Dice Tower West. So it will be in the Hot Games room, the GameFound Hot Games room. So you can play it there. You can touch it and play a game of it. Also follow the preview page.
For the 2 of you that live in the Las Vegas area, that is huge news. But that, again, that brings up a good point. Just like the game's in a very, very like good place. Like we don't have all that much left to do on it beyond balancing, and we're playing with the solo and co-op sides of it a lot more. Manny is much more, if you know Dice Throne, Manny's design ethos is much more the dueling PvP kind of side of things. That's the types of games that he loves the most. And so the thing that we're really working on internally the most is the solo and co-op side of it, which is, obviously we know a huge deal to our core audience. So, there you go. Is there going to be a lore book type item with the Roth campaign? That's a good question, and that is still an open question. So one of the things, when Manny first brought this game to us, the art was largely done in his mind, and it was relatively light on art. We love the art for this game so much, and these colors just absolutely leap off the table at you. It's so pretty. And so one of the first things that we said is like, yeah, we'd love to publish this. This game is cool. We want to bring more of your art onto the table than presently exists. So when the game was pitched to us, Manny was talking about a graphic novel for it potentially, and that was where a lot of the additional art was going to live. We've been trying to bring more of that to the table itself rather than kind of put off into a separate art book or lore book. And so whether or not there's going to be margin and bandwidth for Manny to do a graphic novel of the scope that we were kind of originally talking about is still a little bit of an open question. I don't know the answer to that right now. We'd love to. And if the game is a success, I think at least in if we do a follow-up campaign, that would be something that we'd love to offer in the future if we can't offer it on the initial run. So good question. There is also, so every faction has a single once per game ability, and we are working to get cards on the table that also have an additional piece of faction art that is unique on each side. So there's it's just a really, really beautiful, pretty game, and I just love looking at it. I could sit and look at it as much as I could sit and play it. That's how I feel about it. So there you go. Which is basically how my entire game shelf works, right? So there you go. Roth factions, all playable in every game type or some solo PvP co-op player count dependent. Every faction is playable in both PvP and solo and co-op. Solo and co-op are the same, like they run on the exact same system. So there's not really a difference in there other than player count. But yes, every faction, again, has 2 sides, and they are both usable depending on the game mode. And they are all unique. So that's a lot of fun. And you'll be able to play against every faction as every faction, if that makes sense. So, depending on how you look at it, that means each faction can be played against with all the other factions, meaning, 7 possible scenarios and challenges per faction in the game. Should be plenty to keep you coming back for more. Plenty of content in the box, which is awesome. any influences from other games for Roth you can speak to. So I haven't played a ton of area control games myself. I can tell you that the thesis for this game, from Manny's perspective, who also, spoiler alert, Manny doesn't love area control games, and the way that he often starts his design process, and I think he talked about this a little bit if you go back and watch our Game Found Feast video about Roth, but the way that this kind of developed was he sat down and was like, I don't really like area control games. Can I design one that I like? And that's what he did. He designed an area control game that he enjoys. So you'd have to ask him probably directly about maybe other games that influenced his ethos here. I can tell you that the dice drafting process works very similarly. I'm bad at grammar. To Sagrada, which is not. I mean, maybe other than the really vibrant colors, is not really a game that has anything to do with Roth whatsoever. But it immediately made me think of Sagrada, because there's enough dice to draft, 2 for each player, plus 1 that is like discarded at the end of the draft phase. So aside from that, I haven't played, again, because I haven't played many area control games, I can't speak to how similar or this is or isn't to other things. But again, it's Manny. So if you know Dice Throne, obviously there's a high degree of variability and randomness that comes down to dice rules. Manny really enjoys RNG and dice in his games. So I would say for folks who are hyper deterministic in the way that they like to play games, heavy Euros, that kind of thing, this is probably not going to scratch that itch for you, because again, it is very dice roll dependent. However, because of the drafting, everybody's kind of working with the same pool of dice, and so that mitigates the randomness to a fairly large extent. And then all of your elite troops that are represented by dice, to my knowledge, I don't think any of them are rolled. You really are tracking your health with those dice, which was better than including 30 to 60 health chips in the game. It worked better in this instance. So there you go. Will the solo co-op be scenario-based like Cloudspire, or just a variable AI setup? It's a little bit of both, actually. It's not full-on scenario-based the way that Cloudspire is. Every faction, though, does have a card that has a particular setup for that faction if they are your AI opponent. And that setup for that AI opponent is meant to kind of accentuate the strengths of the AI opponent that you're playing against. So it's not a full-on scenario, but it is a unique map design that's going to take advantage of that faction's strengths and make it more challenging for you. And that does, of course, leave open the possibility of potential future maps that we release that would that might mix it up for a particular faction and that kind of thing. I'm not promising that. That's not a stretch goal or anything on this campaign. I'm just expressing it as a potential possibility for the future. So yeah, it's a little bit of both, not quite full-on scenario or like campaign the way that Cloudspire is, but very much tuned to work specifically with that faction, if that makes sense. Won't Roth have to come with at least one chip? Yes, the first player token is a chip. Spoiler alert. Are you considering dice values besides D6s? No. Is it the Elder Scrolls playable on the Cloudspire playmat? I would say yes, it's playable. And I'm blanking on what the size on the Cloudspire SkyMat is. You may not be able to fit everything in it. Again, so that the huge Elder Scrolls mat, that is taking advantage. That's a 4-player setup. So you don't need, it is a table hog at every player count, but you don't need that much space if you're playing it 1, 2, or even 3-player. 4-player, obviously it's a massive sprawl of stuff by the time you get everybody's skill and class and race cards and everything out there. So I would say in most instances, yes, you could certainly play Elder Scrolls on the Cloudspire SkyMat, sorry. However, I don't know that you'd be able to fit everything on there in a 4-player setup. So
SkyMat is 40 by 35 and a half.
40 by 35 and a half. So yeah, so it's almost exactly as wide and not quite as long, which I believe was kind of the original dimensions that we thought we'd be able to get in there. But for 4-player, it just works better with more space. That's just the long and the short of it. No pun intended. Exactly how many sheeps will be a part of the new Cloudspire campaign? That's really up to Anthony. So, and it was Santoro that took the sheep thing to the next level with our little TikTok, Instagram reel situation. So, no sheep faction. I can confirm that there are no sheep factions. But the idea of kind of the culmination of this storyline for Cloudspire is that like the islands are going to start to crash and run into each other in a much more significant way, and which obviously affects the Earth below in a much more significant way. So that's kind of where we're going with that. And so obviously you have these innocent bystanders, these shepherds, etc., who are kind of like, the heck is going on up there? And that was kind of the genesis of that art piece that we wanted for to announce the campaign. Will Elder Scrolls be an IP that you plan to revisit, or is Betrayal of the Second Era a complete project unto itself? So I can tell you we are already planning for additional regions in the Elder Scrolls. Again, that will be a campaign that I think launches at least a year after this game comes out, because there's so much content in this main box that we don't really want to force, or we never force you to buy anything. We don't want to ask you to purchase additional regions until you've had a chance to hopefully explore a great deal of what's in that main box. We would definitely be open to additional Elder Scrolls. I don't know that we'd be open to additional games necessarily, but like things like a 20-strong deck, things like, I don't know. Maybe a new standalone box of some kind. We'd be open to it, but again, none of that is right now, aside from expansions for Betrayal, none of that is like, we're not really thinking that far ahead right now, because Betrayal has been such a beast. And I've said that in multiple live streams. It's such an enormous game. All of you who have backed it are going to have gameplay for days and days and weeks and months just with what we're releasing here. So, you know, we try hard, and whether or not we succeed at this, I don't know, but we try very hard not to milk our franchises like to the point where they become uninspired and rote. That's one of the reasons that we put a cap on Too Many Bones where it is right now. We felt like, okay, all our best ideas are already in here, and so anything else that we come out with at this point runs the risk of like being really tired and just not inspired like brilliant content. And so we're not interested in like just endlessly releasing stuff for any of our franchises. I mean, we're putting a cap on Cloudspire partially due to sales, and it's just, you know, it's been a niche hit, but not necessarily a mainstream hit. But part of it is also like there's only so much that we can really do with this before it risks being uninspired. So yeah, I don't know. I think in the last live stream, folks were asking about just licenses in general. Like, are you going to work with other licenses? We're not particularly hungry to do that or anxious to do that. Again, Elder Scrolls was a franchise that we were all really passionate about internally. So, yeah, I would say we're open to it. We're open to it, but nothing is planned right now, and I wouldn't count on it, certainly. Though we do plan and hope, as long as Bethesda is happy to allow us to continue with the license, we do hope to release new Betrayal of the Second Era content for years to come, because we're really excited about that game and very proud of the work that we've done on it. And there's still, with the modularity of that game, there's still so much left to explore and so many ideas that we have yet to fully engage with. So there you go. Will the update pack, and for those of you who are unaware, that isn't the update pack, between the first print and second print of Cloudspire, we overhauled the UX for the game and rebalanced a handful of things and separated out some keywords and that kind of thing. Will the update pack for the Cloudspire be available during the campaign? I'm not going to make any promises to this end right now sitting here, but I can tell you that I had a conversation about this yesterday. And I believe the plan, the loose plan, and I always say this on Discord, plans change, The loose plan right now is to offer it likely at cost, and that cost is in the, I'll just be totally up front with you. That cost is in the like $35 to $45 range. And that might seem insane, especially when we offered it for like $15 on the original campaign, back when it was originally going to be stickers and not a whole lot else. This is not a joke. This is not an exaggeration. It costs us more to print a copy of the update pack than it does to print a copy of the base game. And so for that reason, we're not, and obviously it only is necessary for a very small portion of the audience at this point. So we can't mass produce them, which is why they become very, very expensive. They are very, very much a sort of like one-off thing. And so yeah, the plan right now, what we were talking about is like, yeah, we should be able to offer them, I think, at cost. So they're not going to be cheap, unfortunately, but they will be much cheaper for you, the consumer, than needing to rebuy an entire new base game box, if that makes sense. So that's our hope. It may come down to, like, I think we need to print at least 100 of them, I think, for it to make any sense whatsoever. And so it may come down to, like, we offer it and we see how many people we get biting on it, but that's the hope right now. And if we're not able to do that, we may go back and offer like just the stickers, but that is updating Cloudspire stickers with the amount of units that changed is a very arduous process. And so we don't necessarily wish that upon you, the customer, either. But we're going to try and come up with something that works for folks who are still living with that first edition, or maybe came into a used edition on the used market or whatever, that kind of thing. All right. Cloudspire, any decision made about a final lore scenario hardcover book? No decision has been made other than we'd really like to. So similar to like the Miniatures Volume 3 and what I've been saying on Discord. So again, Cloudspire did the Ankar's Plunder campaign did very, very well as a campaign. It did not light the world on fire after release in terms of sales. We expect that the Harbinger campaign will do a similar thing. We think that the people who are really passionate and excited about Cloudspire are going to turn out for the campaign, and it's going to be a very successful campaign. Cloudspire remains a tough nut to crack at the mainstream level because it's such a dense and complex game, and it takes a long time to play, takes a long time to teach. The asymmetry is off the charts, etc. You've heard me talk about that at length. So I've been saying this on Discord, and it remains true here. If you want anything Cloudspire that we're going to offer on this campaign, I would really, really encourage you to come and buy it on the campaign. Like, start setting money aside for it on the campaign now, because I can't promise that we're going to do a whole lot of overprinting on it, and I can't promise that that anything really, though this is not a threat, but I can't promise that any of it will ever get reprinted after our initial campaign print run. And again, that is purely a sales decision. That is purely a greedy capitalist decision on our part. We can't afford to like just store it everywhere and watch it sell just a handful of copies each month. Like, that's just the financial reality of the situation.
Just so you know, it's not greedy to like put yourself in there.
Well, yeah, I know, yeah. But we want to be a smart business about it. So we're going to print as many as the campaign demands. We'll overprint, a bit beyond that. We'll see if we get some language partners on board for this campaign. I don't know that will be the case. It all just kind of depends. But we'd love to offer a book. We'd love to offer as much content as we possibly can on this campaign, but we have to be smart about it. So that's my answer to that. But we'd love to. We would love to. Are all the 20 strong decks completely different? Should I treat each deck as a standalone game? I don't want to make a mistake of writing them off because of one bad experience. They are all, so again, the 20 strong system is meant to kind of stay relatively static from deck to deck, but each deck is very, very different, and our goal is to continue to make them very, very different. Would I call them their own game? I don't know. I mean, in the same way that there's like Boop and Boop for Halloween, and it's largely the same thing, but like they added a little bit of a wrinkle. The various editions of Ticket to Ride, that kind of thing. I actually think that the 20 strong decks are maybe a little bit more different than even some of those types of things, but I don't know that I'd also go so far as to call them a completely different game. It's semantics. They're all very different, though. And I was just in a meeting yesterday with the Tanglewoods decks, pitching the current state of all of the Tanglewoods decks for our upcoming Tanglewoods campaign, and they're all very different. They are all very different. They're a very unique experience. They are still very much 20 strong in their inception and how they work, but they all really change up things to a significant degree. So if there is a single 20 strong deck that you perhaps do not love, I would encourage you to try at least one more and see if that one hits, because they're pretty unique. Yeah. Is there plans to implement the Solar Sentinels world in another full-size game? Not presently. Not presently. We never say never, but not presently. That was, again, if you go back and watch the, we went tongue in cheek with it on the 20 strong like Kickstarter or GameFound video, where we're like, who cares about theme? We just need something combative, something something simple. What if people are fighting moon bugs? Not to say that Solar Sentinels was ever intended to be like a throwaway theme, but that was kind of like the joke was like, the theme for this isn't all that important. Like, we just need something that's kind of cool and interesting. And so Solar Sentinels was really developed more from an art style perspective than it was as any kind of like deep universe in terms of lore and theme and that kind of thing. We really wanted the striking art style that we knew would work really well with the foil for that initial release. There you go. Have you thought about selling accessories like deck boxes, trays, card holders, etc. on the web store? Yes, and I don't know if this is a specifically 20 strong question or not, but you'll see a lot of that with the Tanglewoods campaign. We are definitely going to offer some storage solutions and some additional accessories for 20 strong. We wanted, because the initial 20 strong campaign was so hastily like put out into the world, we wanted it to be as absolutely elementary and simple and cheap as possible, so that we could get, hopefully as many people to kind of take a swing on it as we could find. Now, with it being a bona fide success and huge hit for us, selling extremely well, we're so excited about that. We will definitely be kind of amping up what we do with it in the Tanglewoods campaign, which you will see later this summer. All right, so the AI in Roth cheats, meaning it doesn't play exactly like a human player would. Just full disclosure, because the solo and the co-op has been under heavy development over the last month or so, I haven't played the latest version of solo and co-op for this game. I played it in a much earlier state back at Gen Con, actually. Manny was showing it to us. And I think the answer to that is at least a little yes. But there's a chaos die that you roll for the AI in the game, and each faction does different things with that chaos die. And not being fully up to speed on all the things that the chaos die can do for every faction, that's not a question I can answer super well right now. We will absolutely be answering that question though during the campaign, obviously. So. All right, any tease for future IP, even just where it fits in the CTG catalog? Can you talk about like future stuff in terms of do we have more midweight, solo, etc.? Everything that we have announced right now is everything that we have committed to internally. Full stop. We don't have any additional secrets right now that we are like fully committed to. There's some stuff that we're like tinkering with in the background, but because I can't promise that any of it for sure will see the light of day, I hesitate to say much of anything about it. And for that reason, that's kind of where I'm going to leave it. So, we've got Cloudspire coming. We've got 20 strong Tanglewoods coming. I can tell you that we have lots more 20 strong kind of percolating in the background because it's been very successful. If Roth is a big hit, we will do more Roth because it's asymmetrical factions, and that just makes sense. And then we're planning to do more Elder Scrolls, though, again, that is a ways out right now. Again, we're looking to fill every gap in our catalog in terms of like trying to have something for everybody. So again, Roth being a midweight, more mainstreamable title with a really striking art style that we think will do very well on retail shelves. That's us taking a shot at that. Now, if Roth is a dramatic failure for some reason, that would be a bummer. But we would probably try a different midweight game, after Roth to see if we could kind of fill that niche. The small box thing with 20 Strong has gone tremendously well. That is our small box title, and will probably remain as such. And we probably won't release another one until we have like some huge inspiration to do so. And then I would say we will certainly at some point, and we're not working on it. And I mean that like point blank. We are not working on this right now. But at some point, we will do Too Many Bones 2. Like, we will do a new, like, big box version set in the world of Daylor with gear locks and with something new mechanics and that kind of thing that will be separate from Too Many Bones that already exists. We are not working on it at all right now. Like, it's not, again, Elder Scrolls has kind of turned into that. So, yeah. So that's all I have. Like, that's all I have to announce. Otherwise, we are pretty booked with our product pipeline for the next, honestly, for like the next year and a half. And there's always things that come up. There's always ideas that we have. There's always new stuff. But that's kind of where we're at. Yeah. Maybe do a Trove Chest pre-order system. Like for the Cloudspire update pack. Possibly. It's just, again, the Cloudspire update pack, it has a finite number of people who need it. And that finite number of people who need it is very small. So we'll probably do it on the campaign. We'll probably overprint a handful, and that will probably be the last you see of the Cloudspire update pack. Rather than doing it like doing an annual pre-order thing like we do for the Trove Chest, there's just not enough people that need it. And again, the amount of people who own a copy of Too Many Bones and want a Trove Chest dramatically, and without like opening our books to you, I can't prove this out, but dramatically outsizes the number of people who need a Cloudspire update pack at this point. It's not close. It's not remotely close. All right. Is there plans to provide a Trove Chest for Cloudspire? No. Full stop, no. And I gave some reasons for that in Discord this morning, and we've kind of talked about it at length. There's a number of reasons for that, and let me try and break them down. Now, again, with the caveat that we would never say never, there are no plans for this. Number one, they're really expensive to manufacture. We make, and this is from a pure like cost to sales point, we make very little on Trove Chests by the time we ship them to you. Particularly with the way that we help. What's the word I'm looking for? We subsidize shipping, right? Like it costs us more than $10 to ship you a copy of Too Many Bones. It costs us much more than $10 to ship you a copy of a Trove Chest. And so by the time we freight them over, by the time we store them in a warehouse, by the time we ship them to you after they're manufactured, we make very little money on the Trove Chest. And it's still questionable how profitable they are, even in their entire lifespan. When you take a step back and you realize that we are constantly shipping out like replacement components for them because they're not the most durable things in the world to ship, right? And we spent almost a year engineering the darn thing, which, again, the costs of that are, whatever. They're long gone. They're sunk at this point. But like, so doing one for Cloudspire, though, for a game that has a fraction of the audience that Too Many Bones does, by the time we engineer the thing over the course of 6 months to a year and ship them and that kind of thing, like they truly would end up, I think, being a loss for us. Now, we're fine with loss leaders in various realms and corners of the CTG universe, but it's got to be a loss leader for a franchise that sells better than Cloudspire does. So I feel every time I talk about this, I feel like I'm painting Cloudspire as like this bleak thing that is like slowly siphoning money from the company. It's not that. It's not that. Okay, like we sell some Cloudspire each month. It's not a complete disaster or something along those lines. However, Bones sales versus Cloudspire sales, it's not even the same conversation. Like you can't point to what's going on over here and draw any comparison to what's happening in the Cloudspire universe because it's just not the same at all. Too Many Bones has almost single-handedly sustained this company for 6 years, aside from everything else that we're doing. And we've done a lot of other stuff. So let that be kind of, I'm just stating that for the record. The other thing, presently, all Cloudspire content fits in the base game box. And I think there's room for at least 2 more factions in that base game box with the storage kind of outline that we've put online. Involves removing the foam and like all that kind of thing. We haven't made a final decision on how many factions we're doing on this campaign other than more than 1. But we'd have to release 4, and we're not releasing 4. It's going to be either 2 or 3. I'll just state that point blank. It's going to be either 2 or 3 factions that we release on the Harbinger campaign. And even if we release 3, there's still like not that much overstock or overfill that like you have like these 35 boxes sitting around on your shelf. With Too Many Bones, you needed more storage. Like there just wasn't room for all the stuff that was being released. So, pardon me, I'm going to take a drink here while my throat tries to attack me.
Your body's rejecting the non-diet Coke.
What was that?
Your body's rejecting the non-diet Coke.
It's true, yeah. My body is begging for Coke Zero right now, and it's stuck with this seltzer water. No, I've been trying to cut back my Coke Zero intake, for the record. I don't know if I've succeeded in any way, shape, or form, but I'm trying. So that's another factor. Another factor: Too Many Bones takes a long time to set up, and the Trove chest massively reduced setup time for Too Many Bones. That was an intentional part of the design. There's not really anything we could do from a storage standpoint that would benefit Cloudspire in a super meaningful way. There's a few different things, like we could put factions in a like ready to go closable tray potentially. But outside of that, like there's nothing from a storage solution that would really improve setup time for Cloudspire. So that's another kind of piece of the puzzle. And in addition to that, there's no Trove chest in the world that would fit the minis, especially after we release Volume 3 of minis with the new factions. And so there's just a really limited payoff to even how much the Trove chest would benefit Cloudspire players right out of the gate, aside from it'd be cool and we know that some people want it. But at the end of the day, the amount of work and time and money that needs to go into it just doesn't really make sense for this line, even though we know there's a bunch of people who would appreciate it. I know that's possibly very disappointing to a lot of folks, but that's just the reality of it. Again, it's kind of a cold, hard business decision that we have to make. And short of this campaign blowing up well beyond our expectation, I just don't think there's a world where it would make sense, if that makes sense. Not to mention, I think there's like as many chips and weight in Cloudspire as there is in Too Many Bones, possibly even more by the time we release these factions. It would have to be a very, very, very sturdy, hefty thing. And that takes a lot of work and a lot of engineering and a lot of time to make that work. So there you go. All right. Will you continue to edit your games in foreign language in the future as you do for? I'm going to assume that means release and not edit, and that might be a language thing. We want all of our games available in as many languages as possible. So that's our like whatever. That's our our preamble statement to any of this. It's not up to us, frankly. It's not up to us at all. We have been openly like signing contracts for all of our games as offers come in, but not every language part. It does, again, like we have to be careful with our own English print runs, which is where we sell the language that we sell the most copies in. And there's a lot of language partners that need to sell, at least X amount of games in their language to make it worthwhile, especially because our games are so expensive, not just to sell, but to manufacture. So, the reason that you saw 13 total languages on Elder Scrolls, I think 12 or 13, is because of the Elder Scrolls IP. Every language partner on the planet wanted to get in on this game because they know the Elder Scrolls will sell. Something like Cloudspire or Burn Cycle, much more niche, much less mainstream appeal. We don't necessarily have offers sitting on the table to translate those games into other languages. So we are large enough now where we will almost always take a language deal if it's offered to us. We couldn't do that in the past because we make much less money on language editions than we do on English versions that we sell ourselves. But we are large enough now that the volume makes sense to make language deals, and we will continue to make as many as we can for as many of our games as we can. I believe 20 Strong is doing well enough that I think you'll see a lot more languages available for 20 Strong, probably on Tanglewoods. And then there's also the Manny appeal. And lots of language partners have had a lot of success selling Dice Throne around the world, and so they know Manny. And I think for Roth and for Tanglewoods, you'll see plenty of language partners that will be interested in that. Also, again, Roth is meant to be a more mainstream game, which means it should sell very well at retail and that kind of thing. And I think the art style will also just really appeal to a lot of people. Right. Will there be other languages on Cloudspire campaign? Again, TBD, it's on us. We need to get the information about this campaign to language partners. And when we haven't even decided what we're going to be doing for the English version, that is impossible right now, right? I can tell you, though, that Cloudspire, Ben from Frosted Games, Cloudspire is his favorite CTG title. He very, very, very much wants to translate it into German. That doesn't mean that it'll happen because, again, there's financial considerations, but we would love to if a deal is able to be brokered and if Frosted feels like it would sell well enough in Germany and in the German language. Cloudspire actually, I think, tends to sell, I'd have to look at the exact numbers breakdown. It tends to sell better in Europe, I think, actually, than in the USA. I think that's because it is our most deterministic game by a large margin, and the term heavy Euro exists for a reason. They are very deep strategic, sometimes challenging to learn, and very deterministic games with not a lot of randomness and dice in them. And that is Cloudspire as chip theory titles go, Cloudspire is certainly the most Euro of our catalog. So, all right, what is your preferred use for the baddies that you store on Carcass's meat hooks? My preferred, cooking, obviously. Do I have a favorite recipe card? Probably. Man, this is the problem with asking people who have developed things questions like this is there are some that didn't make it into the game. And I'm trying to remember if this one has, but I think there's honey glazed and canned still that made it into the final game. Those are my, canned was my favorite, mostly because I think it has the alternate use that you can chuck it at an enemy. And that was always my favorite. And I chuckled to myself for a few minutes because I think I'm really clever when I came up with that in the spreadsheet originally. That's probably my favorite one. I think it's still in the game, fairly certain. I have to get out a copy of Carcass to fully confirm that. But obviously, I love cooking. I love cooking those baddies. I do love the shelter die. Also, I'm a pretty big fan of just because it's so grim and grisly, and depending on the baddie that you get on your hook, the thought of skinning it and turning it into a shelter is kind of gnarly, and it amuses me. And that's just who I am. Now you know more about me as a weird, gross person. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not that gross, usually. All right. That is all the questions that I have. I think I hit them all. So unless we see one fly in here at the last second. But But I did want to mention the Riffle counter is very, very close. Is very, very close to happening. I think in the last live stream, people were asking about Riffle. A new, fresh release of Riffle is imminent. I will, though, mention two things alongside of that. One, we will not make Riffle available the second the counter hits the Magic 500 number. We will give you likely at least a week to kind of like prepare for that. The other thing that I'll mention is we are very low on Riffle stock right now. We're kind of between prints on Riffle. And so I can also tell you that we have about 200 of them here in the USA. I'm not sure on our other fulfillment hubs around the world. So if we sell more than that on this next wave of availability for Riffle, we will be putting them up for pre-order while we order some more, because Riffle always sells really well every time we have it available. So anyway, just be aware of that. Be watching for that. Again, we will send out an email. We will be posting about it on socials. There's actually, it looks like it's probably going to hit maybe even around Valentine's Day, potentially. So possibly even as early as next week, where we'll hit the counter. And then again, we will make some announcements and make sure that you're prepared so it doesn't just like come out of the blue. And when Riffle is available, Riffle is always available for at least 48 hours, 2 days, for those of you who need the metric system. That's not the metric system. That was a joke. It was a bad joke. I'm just going to roll with it. All right. That's all I have. So we've got Brandon Osborne and Andrew Santori here, two of our most prized convention assets. And they are going to be walking you through a little bit about our convention planning for... What was that?
You missed one.
Oh, are you going to be on the stream?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I meant no. Amanda is here too. Amanda / you know her as Nugget if you've ever interacted with her in customer support or at a convention. She's also here behind the scenes running this stream. What I meant was that Santoro and Brandon were going to be on camera answering questions for you and talking about things. Amanda is here. She is also our most prized convention asset.
Heather's here too in the chat.
Yeah, well, and Heather's here in the chat. Oh,
It's fine. You have favorites. We understand.
the egos at this company, I tell you, are just out of control. We've got our convention crew here. We're talking conventions here this week at CTG and doing a whole lot of planning for this year. And Brandon and Santoro are going to be here on camera, kind of going over our plans, talking a little bit about what you can expect. I don't know how long that's going to go. It may be short. It may be long. It really depends on you, the listener. There's a link in the the description right now, where you can sign up if you are interested in helping and volunteering for us at a convention. And I'd encourage you to fill that out if that is of interest to you. We're going to take a 5-minute break. Santoro and Brandon will be back with you shortly. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in a bit.
Hello.
Howdy.
Hi. We're back. It's me, Andrew, and I'm joined with Brandon, who is works at a lot of conventions with
That
us.
I do.
If you have convention-based questions, please ask them to us now. I will have some questions for Brandon in a bit here. But just in general, we want to talk about conventions. If you want to join us at conventions, it is a fun experience. We'll talk about that here. It is a blast. If you want to work at the booth, at our booth, not just any booth or at the convention, if you want to work at the CTG booth, express your interest in the interest form that is linked in the description of this very video. So just scroll up or down, look at the description, do the read more part if you can't see the link, and click that link, fill out that form. There's benefits, and also you get to hang out with us, maybe, if we're there. I don't know.
And Amanda?
And Amanda.
I'll be
Yeah,
there.
one of the non-essential booth staff. Amanda.
Yes, the convention coordinator is the non-essential vibe.
Uh-oh. Hello.
Yep,
Oh,
I'll be right back.
delivery's here.
Fantastic.
Okay, so I'm going to start off here. Oh, also, Dice Tower West is the next convention that I will be going to personally. That will just be a me at the Dice Tower West. I would love to say hello to you at Dice Tower West if you're there. So feel free to come up and say hello. I will maybe have Elder Scrolls, and I might be able to walk you through a few turns. If you are a media or content presence that would like to demo any of our new things at this convention, please reach out to me. And if one of your channels that you like is going to this, send them my way. Additionally, Roth, these neat player mats here, we will have a copy of this in the Hot Games room, the GameFound Hot Games room at Dice Tower West. So go there, and you will get a chance to play the game before anyone else. Brandon is looking swish.
Lovely. Thank you for that.
Let's see.
So Andrew, do we want to run through kind of some high-level overview stuff, or do you have a list of questions for me?
Well, if you have a high level that you'd like to start with, I have some questions.
Yeah.
But how would you like to go?
Lay them on me. What do we got?
My first question for you is, how did you start working with CTG? Because I know it happened at a convention.
Yeah, so I actually started Dice Tower East about 10 years ago, give or take. And that was my first convention in the hobby, which kind of led me on a path of just working with different publishers. So with that, at one point I said I wanted to learn Cloudspire, leading into Future of Cloudspire is my favorite chip theory game.
Mm-hmm.
But that kind of brought me to the booth and worked with Amanda and kind of set that up and was part of the front end, doing what we do best of just having a great convention experience for everyone.
Yeah.
You know, let it be doing demos or pitches or just guiding people through the product line. But that was Origins 2 years ago at this point, and I think any major convention, it's kind of been my go-to spot.
Are you folks going to UKGE and or Essen? So, with these, I will answer in both ways unless you state otherwise. So if you have a specific,
Sure.
Please state. But us folks, I don't know if you're going to UKGE or Essen. We as a company are not going to UKGE this year. We are planning to go next year with Elder Scrolls' release. Essen, we will be at. I will likely be at that one. I don't know if you will be.
I will likely personally be at both UKGE and Essen. My wife as well should be at UKGE and hopefully Essen too. So,
what kind of positions are available for people to volunteer, and are there requirements for different roles? For the most part, we are looking for booth staff. So that is folks who are helping to demo the games, who you don't have to be like heavily knowledgeable about our games, but like you have to be open to being able to talk to people about our games.
Yeah, I think
be that an overview that we can give you, or
yeah, I was gonna say I think the types of positions, right, are typically booth staff. So what that means in general is being the person at the booth that is able to talk through and greet. And you may not be fully versed on each game that Chip Theory has to offer, but there's always someone like myself or Amanda or Santoro in the booth that you can kind of use as a lifeline, right? So even if you're not fully prepped, the goal is to have you at least a little dangerous when you're in the booth. With that being said, but
in like a good way, though.
In a good way, yeah.
Like,
you just know just enough.
Scissors.
Yeah, or pulling a carcass issue.
Yeah. No meat hooks at the booth. Does our other convention person who is off screen have any thoughts on what kind of positions are available? Did we cover it?
You covered it.
All right.
We are looking for ambassadors who want to represent our company and talk about our games.
If that's you, fill out that form that's in the description. let me tell you where that is. The description of this live stream that you are watching right now. And if you're watching it, recorded later, that link will probably be there. If you're watching this 5 years from now, maybe fill out a different form.
Yeah.
But,
We'll have a different form by then.
my next question for you: what is your favorite thing about working at the CTG booth?
Apart from Amanda, right? No, I think the best thing with the boost, honestly, is the people. I think we've built a very good community of folks that are excited about the games that we bring to the table, right? So the biggest thing for me at any convention or working a booth specifically with Chip Theory is how excited people are and being able to share that excitement. And that really shines through, and just being a part of that is something to really be appreciative of.
Yeah. I'll say, as a person who handles a lot of our digital fronts, you see a lot of negativity in general. That just happens. Happens at every job you're going to work. There's no company that is immune to it, though I think this one is pretty good on that front. But seeing those questions and things in person, seeing people who genuinely love the games enough to have these questions is a whole different thing. It's very nice to have.
Absolutely.
Do you have any idea which games you plan to demo at Origins this year? I believe we were just talking about that.
we were just discussing that right before the live stream, actually. And if I had my notes, I could give more specifics. But I think, there's a handful of the core lineup should be there, as well as potentially some new stuff that's coming out. So I think the goal would be Too Many Bones, let it be if it's base game, Unbreakable, Undertow, but Cloudspire
Yep, 20 strong.
20 strong for certain.
Kids
Hoplomachus.
games should be out.
Kids games will be there.
Check out those kids games.
Yes, I mean a good chunk of the lineup will definitely be at Origins. I think we're looking at potentially even expanding the demo space a little bit more, just because the lineup is getting a little bit deeper.
Yeah, we might even have something. Might have something of this there. Who knows? I'm not gonna promise that, but we will have copies on hand. I don't know if we will have enough after I do the sends to content folks. But yeah, strengths in Too Many Bones and Remastered are very welcome. Like Too Many Bones definitely always needs a pitch. Hoplo certainly always needs a pitch as well.
Yeah.
I will say people do not know Hoplo well.
They do not, and I think the big thing too with working the booth, right? Being an ambassador at Chip Theory Games doesn't just mean, hey, we're gonna put you exactly where we need the fit. But if you are very adamant and you really like a specific game, and it's your either top favorite or top favorite of the games that we offer, we would rather put someone who's passionate in that spot. And because if you know that line better than someone who doesn't, and why would we have that crisscross, right? So the hope and goal is to put the person, that ambassador, in that spot, teaching or demoing a game that they're truly passionate about, which is why I will always pitch Cloudspire.
So you're not are you excited about the new campaign, or are you just sort of?
I mean, I am hoping to find out a lot of really fun information, a little bit more than we led on to this morning, but I think it's going to be very exciting to see what comes out. I know Cloudspire is very versatile, and I think that is the key to Cloudspire's success, but I know the new factions, plural, coming out are kind of what I'm most excited for. I think a little bit more variety and a little bit new excitement is going to be fun.
Yeah. I'm personally excited for the Cloudspire update pack, possibly coming to the campaign. I'm just going to reiterate what he said. No, I love Cloudspire. I'm very excited for the new campaign, and I'm excited to make video content for it because it is incredibly hard to find the time to make video content for Cloudspire because of the complexity.
I believe that.
And because there's no specific push.
Well, I'm excited. Aren't we looking to play it at Adepticon here soon?
Is
that the plan?
I don't know.
Maybe.
I'm not going there.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah.
If you're in Schaumburg at Adepticon,
Schaumburg, Illinois,
come find me. I think we'll be playing Cloudspire in the evening. So
yeah,
with the minis on the table,
bam,
in its true form.
Check out Cloudspire. New Cloudspire campaign launches in fall. No exact date specified, but not during Essen.
Yeah,
not during Essen. And hopefully not right after Essen. A big issue that happened with the 20 strong campaign is all our leadership went to Essen and they all came back ill, and so it was a wrench in the old plans there. Let me see here. Cloudspire minis, honestly, likely most recent availability will be on the campaign at best. They are hard to keep in stock and hard to print. Okay, my next question for you is, and you already answered it, but I guess why? So it's your favorite CTG game and why?
So Cloudspire, right? If you've ran into me at the booth at any convention and I haven't talked to you about Cloudspire, that's my mistake. I think Cloudspire is what really drew me to working with Chip Theory in the beginning, because I just had a great table presence, and ultimately as a kid and growing up and still today, I play a lot of video games that are tower defense related. And as soon as I saw Cloudspire and how the game operates and the different, being able to do co-op, 1v1, 2v2, solo scenario, cooperative scenarios, all of that kind of just spoke to me.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much all she wrote. After that, my wife will come home, and instead of having dinner on the table, I'll have a Cloudspire scenario set up. And she goes, again? Yep. And then it's just
that copy of Cloudspire.
Yeah, it just keeps going. So yeah, I think Cloudspire is definitely top tier for me.
Did he say October? October then. Campaign, I suppose. Let me see. What cons are we looking for help? What cons are we going to overall? So what we are going to overall. We are going to Con of the North in Plymouth, Minnesota. Check it out if you're in the area. It's very small, but pretty cool. We'll be doing a Cloudspire demo there run by one of the head designers of the thing. So check that out. other than that, I will be at Dice Tower West again. Dice Tower West. If you see me, say hi. Check out the Hot Games Room for Roth. Ooh. We will not have a booth presence there. We will have some folks running games, I believe. Yeah. Yes, we'll have some folks running games.
Our
So
friends at Double Exposure will be running games for us.
friends at Double Exposure. So check them out. After Dice Tower West is Origins, I believe.
Adepticon.
Yes,
I'll
you
be
just
there.
mentioned it.
I'll be there.
You'll be there. Let me see. After Adepticon is Origins.
Yep. Then we'll be Origins.
Yes. Then Gen Con.
Then Gen Con.
Then immediately after Gen Con is QuakeCon.
Okay.
If you happen to be in Grapevine, Texas, Grapevine, check it out. You can also check out the new Meow Wolf structure there. It's very cool, and another good reason to go to Grapevine if you're looking for reasons. After that is Essen.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that is PAX Unplugged. Have I
PAX
said
U.
all of them?
I think so.
There will be more next year. That list will grow considerably, I believe. There might be more PAXs in there. There might be UKGEs in there.
Mm-hmm.
But no, nothing official yet. But that's what we're looking for. I believe we're looking for help at all of those. Yes, so all of those. So if you live in any of those cities or are willing to travel to them, fill out the form. That's in the description of this stream.
It's in the down
below. Yeah. If you can't see the link, hit the read more, and that's where the link will be. And what are the perks that you get as an ambassador? I'd personally love for them to specify. I don't personally know that off the top of my brain.
So
Yeah.
I know most of them. I mean, Amanda, as long as do we have that policy out there, or is that something we can send?
It should be in the form description.
Excellent.
But perks of being an ambassador are badge entry to the event,
Badge entry,
CTG polo, it's gonna be looking real cool,
apparel,
and then they also receive $75 in store credit to be used at the booth, online, or at future campaigns for every shift worked.
75 store credit each shift worked.
Amanda, how many shifts would an ambassador have to work in order to be eligible for the program?
We ask for at least 2.
At least 2 shifts.
So working 2 shifts at a convention basically allots you 1 core game, potentially.
One Cloudspire.
1 Cloudspire. And if you don't have Cloudspire, I think it should be the first pick. That's just me.
Correct. I agree.
Beyond that, your badge, right, which you would get an exhibitor badge, which is allowing you to kind of get in early and be able to help set up and do a few extra things. But yeah, ultimately those perks are constantly growing. But yeah, the end goal is to make sure that we're pulling in people and compensating them accordingly, right? And having that transparency is important.
And how many hours is a shift typically?
Typically, it is 4 hours. So, and you can split that up depending on how many conventions we're at and what that demand is. So we're currently in the process of planning how many ambassadors we need at each convention. So you can do a morning shift 2 days in a row. You can do back-to-back, and kind of splitting it up based on the events that you're going to. So we're very flexible and try to work around your schedule. We just ask that you're passionate and willing to be there and talk how awesome Cloudspire is, as well as the other CTG games. But
Yeah, we make other games.
you do.
Cloudspire
We do.
theory games.
Hey, that has a great ring to it.
So that works great for if you want to explore convention too. Like if you
Yeah.
are curious about a convention and you are going to be going to this convention, we can get you into it, and you only have to work 2 shifts. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
deal.
it's not
Pretty good deal.
terrible. I mean, and those are the tangible perks, but some of the intangibles of that is kind of seeing behind the scenes and understanding, what makes a booth happen and kind of getting that touch and feel of what you don't normally get to see as just a normal convention goer. I think that there's a lot of unknown perks and things that are unseen, like continuing to work the same booth for years on end and building a relationship with the number one asset at conventions.
We've already
I would
determined
not be
Amanda's
here if it was
an
not
asset.
for Amanda. So I would like to continue to
Yeah.
Yeah. You are appreciative.
Don't worry,
Yeah.
you're both involved. You're great.
All right, perfect. All right, so
Yeah.
we cleared that air.
Yeah, Gilly's the one who will get the bad room at
Yeah.
Gen Con. Ooh.
Uh-oh.
Nothing in it yet.
Special delivery.
An empty box.
Ayo.
It says Roth on
That
the
is
sides.
also much larger than probably the final box will be. Just FYI.
Yeah,
Excellent.
it's very cold.
It is.
As
It
the
was
as
so
the
cold.
game will be when it is delivered to you.
Chilled.
It will be filled with dry ice. I promise that. So that there's a cool fog effect when you open your copy of Roth. Yeah, it's an empty box. I don't know. It's cool. It's empty. There's nothing on the back yet. Maybe I'll draw something cool on the back of
like-
these boxes for people. That'd be fun.
It's like a half Cloudspire.
But yeah, it's got some Manny art that has never been seen before, I suppose, except for the
Oh, yeah.
kind of blurry photo that I shared on the socials. If you want to see all the Roth stuff, we have a preview page. Follow that. You'll get all the updates on the preview page. And we're hoping to have gameplay of this next week, if we have the materials to do so in a clean, nice way. Did you want to peek at the box?
I do.
Yeah.
That is quite great.
Oh, it's really nice.
I'm excited.
Done some good work on this.
I
I'm
am
gonna
excited.
knock out some questions here before we jump back to convention stuff. So, are all combats for Elder Scrolls only on the combat tile? No, there is a clash mat, which is that bigger piece that you've seen, that has fights on it. That's the common overland fights. Delves are also considered combats, so you will be delving, the tiles will grow, you'll place more as you go, you'll have specific goals, but you will be fighting things in those. You are not just running through or expanding maps. There are also dungeons which are built out using sometimes the clash mat, sometimes just delve tiles, but they're big, sprawling maps that are predetermined, and you are going through them with a goal in mind. Those are typically part of quests. So there are 3 distinct combat styles that use the board differently. I don't know what draft rulebook you are talking about, but there is an Elder Scrolls one that is coming soon. We are still finishing it up. We don't like to release unfinished rulebooks because then it creates more questions than it answers, and I personally do not think a rulebook is a great way to interact with a game. I would much rather see somebody play it, so that's why I try to flesh out our gameplay stuff, which is what we'll have a lot of for Roth. And honestly, Roth rulebook will be on that campaign. I can almost guarantee. I won't, but I can almost guarantee because it's pretty much written. I don't have an answer for when files are going to go to translation partners, but I think preliminary ones have gone. I don't believe we'll have new Cloudspire content to share at Gen Con, but we might have some prototypes there for me to be demoing privately. Who knows? Yeah, that's something to consider.
That's a great question.
Yeah, it depends on how far along the design they are. The design team is heavily on Tanglewoods and Elder Scrolls at the moment, and they will be switching to Cloudspire stuff immediately after that. We'll have stuff for the campaign, but by Gen Con, I think the push is Elder Scrolls. How many hours is a shift? Do you need any help building the booth at SN? That's from Federico. Hello, Federico. Federico is the artist of Elder Scrolls and is in the chat graciously offering to bring a hammer into the convention hall and start knocking away at the booth. Our booth is not constructed with hammers. Hello, Federico.
It is not, thankfully. Thankfully.
If you want to say thank you to anyone for the beautiful artwork that is in Elder Scrolls, he is the one who is doing a lot of it, and then Anthony is also doing a lot of it, and I don't remember the fellow offhand who is doing our big tiles. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't even. There's a third artist too. Who I feel bad that I don't remember his name offhand. Is Cloudspire First Edition plus upgrade the exact same as Second Edition, or are there any other changes? I believe if you have the upgrade pack, it covers everything. I don't know if you would have a Second Edition.
I have a Second Edition, yeah.
I believe the intent and why the upgrade pack costs so much is because we are fully replacing the parts that need to be replaced. And that is often why it's about the cost to print one of those as it is a full game. All right, so that is all of these. Feel free to keep going with these. I love being able to jump and answer those. What upcoming Chip Theory game titles are you most looking forward to, Brandon? Do you have any?
I think there's a new Cloudspire campaign coming out. I think it goes unnoticed. But no,
no one's talking about it at all.
I will
Certainly
say,
not you.
I'm excited to see this.
Yeah, this one's fun.
I believe I'll get to touch it and feel it a little bit more in the next couple days. So this could be a little bit more exciting than Cloudspire because it may be more accessible in terms of weight and playtime. So.
Oh yeah, this one you will be able to pop onto a table with friends and teach it and play through it in, I would say, an hour and a half at most. A game of this is going to be about an hour for up to 4. It runs. It is a quicken. I missed the information on Roth. What is that and when does it launch? It launches on March 12th. I have it written in a notebook that's on a desk over by Amanda, but I don't have it near me.
So other than the beautiful artwork, what do we have? What's the high-level overview of Roth?
Yeah. So the Roth campaign will be running from March 12th through March 29th. That'll be going live on Tuesday. I believe we'll have our regular old CTG strategist pledge in there, unless I should confirm that, but I believe that'll be there. So that's the thing to try and get there really early to get a hold of. Again, the actual game will be at Dice Tower West. I will have a copy that I'll be demoing with media folks, but there will also be a copy in the Hot Games room run by GameFound that people can just I believe you can just play it, honestly. I think that's how yeah?
Usually Hot Games rooms, it'll be there with the rulebook. I don't know if anyone will be manning that area, but normally it's set up on a table with a rulebook. Sit down, enjoy it.
Yeah, it's very simple, which is another reason why it will be in the Hot Games room, because it is a great game to just leave and have people work it themselves. So I will hope to have a really good rulebook to leave with them. So that'll be running from the 12th to the 29th. Brief overview. Amanda, if you want to go top, or maybe not top down just yet. Here's the game mat. So this is where you'll be playing. At the beginning of each game, you're going to be choosing a faction, which are these fellers here, or fellets. That's a lady on there.
Well, these are grizzlies, so
so the white outlines determine different regions. At the beginning of the game, different scoring points will be randomly assigned to each region. And then you will be collecting points if you have the most units in that region. You'll get bonuses if you're the only one with units in that region. You'll get additional bonuses if you have elite units there. Could you get me the top-down camera now? Awesome. So each of the factions is their own unique peoples. So the Pauldine are like kind of, I don't know, they're like proud warriors. The Venas are like witchy, and they can like bring their folks back from the dead. But each of them will have a once per battle ability that plays with, what they do. And they will also have some elite units. Some of them will have 3 elite units. Some of them will have a set amount of elite units, as well as just an ability that they can do. So then here, for instance, they will have different Cora costs. Cora is the currency of the game. You can spend Cora to put out these more elite units that have special abilities and add to your scoring if they are in a region you control. There's also just some base units that you will just get, and you'll be able to pour them out. You're just trying to control regions, and each region you score. And those are very, very high-level overview of the game. But they have cauldrons that if they are out and unattacked, they will start spitting out dead units back to life.
I'm excited.
These folks can turtle up and just have a bunch of units that move across the board and protect themselves. These fellows can lay traps and turn into big scary bears.
And it's PvE and PvP too, correct?
PvP solo co-op. So
it's got some Cloudspire vibes.
Yeah. It's very, very incorrectly would refer to it as Cloudspire Lite, but it is not at all, because it's an area control game, which Cloudspire certainly is not.
Are you sure? Because it can be.
I control that area. So that is a basic overview of Roth. How soon before Convention Hall open does one need to show up for a morning shift?
That's a great question. So I think it's kind of convention dependent.
Yes.
Typically 15 to 30 minutes prior, just to help kind of get everything set up. I know certain conventions you can get in a little bit earlier if we do some setup ahead of time to be able to kind of wander the halls a little bit beforehand. That is definitely one of the unseen perks, is kind of getting the behind the scenes look at, let's just say, Gen Con, for example, when there's no one other than vendors, exhibitors, designers, artists, etc. in the hall. So I think that is one of the big perks. But in terms of actual working, probably 10-15 minutes prior to vendor hall open.
Yep. And, it's totally fine if you show up a bit earlier, too.
Oh, yeah.
Give you an overview on things. So that's the thing with it, too, is if you are not the, biggest knowledge haver about our games, you don't feel confident in any one title, we can always give you pitches, too, as long as you have the passion for our company.
Yeah, and I think that's where if you're not familiar or you're a little uncertain, I think that's kind of where Amanda and I both will take that time to make sure that you're comfortable with it and you're going to be provided as much information as possible. Kind of go through a little bit of training. We do some calls before each convention to make sure everyone's on the same page, because a lot of times we have veterans that we've had for years at our booth, and then we have newcomers at every convention. So it's a lot of fun to blend the two and work off of one another. And if you hear me pitch Cloudspire and give a high-level overview and you've never seen it before, by the time I'm done explaining it, you're going to hopefully have the ability to walk away and kind of mimic that. So I think that's kind of the goal, is it's based on your comfort level.
Yeah. Let me see here. Any ideas on a CTG-only event/convention? No, that sounds expensive, I imagine. Our funds are tied up in making really nice games for you to play. Our office is, I don't know, here in Plymouth. If you're ever in the area, we're happy to walk you through it. But yeah, at this moment, no.
No plans for CTG Con.
No CTG Con, no Con Theory games, or Convention Theory games, I guess, if you're feeling formal. If you are at any of these conventions that I pop my head into, feel free to say hi. That's kind of a personal touch I can apply. Or if you're at any of our conventions, feel free to pop over and just say hi, even if you own everything in the catalog.
Oh, yeah.
We'll try to sell you more, but you can always say hi. We just like meeting people. This might be a dumb question. Does Victorum have more combat than Elder Scrolls? I assume that only Cloudspire has as much combat as Hoplomachus. Elder Scrolls is heavily combat. There are, the way map travel works and everything, you can see what is coming up, so you can choose to try and go for things that are combat oriented, peaceful oriented, or a game of chance where you're just rolling the die to see if you get combat or peaceful. But largely it will be combat. You can circumvent that a bit if you are feeling like you got beat up in the last one, but I don't think anything can compare to Victorum, which is literally just
pure
fight, or
nonstop
sporting event, which is a fight in some way.
Still, yeah.
A drinking game. Drink every time the word Cloudspire is said. You would lose that game, especially in a thing where you ask people what their favorite game is.
You walked into that one. Sorry, Santoro.
Yeah. Let me see. What convention do you like working most, if there is one?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
So I think each convention has its own vibe, its own feel to it. And I think this past year, I was fortunate enough to experience a lot of smaller conventions. We went to UKGE last year for the first time, so I think there's a lot. Is that a
smaller one?
It's I think it's about the size of Origins.
Okay.
Roughly, somewhere in between Origins and PAX Unplugged, 20,000 to 30,000 if I'm not mistaken. But I believe, I think working each convention has its own perks, right? Gen Con is nonstop action. You don't really get a chance to do much other than enjoy Gen Con, right? But we just came back from Tantrum Con, which is actually where I'm from Chicago, but we live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we just had Tantrum Con, right? So that's a little bit smaller and different than the Gen Con.
Mm-hmm.
Geekway to the West is another one like that, right? Like there's each the smaller conventions has their own perks. The larger conventions have their own perks. I think it's tough. That's hard.
I would say, like, as a attendee, something like Gen Con and Essen, while very fun, are incredibly overwhelmed. Like
They can be.
They are throngs of people. Like when I walk the halls at either of those conventions, I have to put headphones in. If you see me at them, feel free to poke me
Oh, yeah.
to say hello because I will not hear you because I will have headphones in because I can't do it.
Yeah, I think that, from a working perspective, I think PAX Unplugged was a new one this year. Vastly different feel.
Oh yeah, I like PAX Unplugged.
It's good. It's got a great vibe. Tons of crokinole happening, which is a whole other story in itself. But I think the biggest
sure.
thing, if you're looking to be an ambassador and you've seen the live streams and you would love to work with us, just dip your toe in, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the hardest part, is just starting that. And if you've never done a convention, working it's an easy way to do that, right? The expectations are laid out. It's understanding that, hey, it may not be for everyone. So maybe a shift or two, and then you got to go to the convention and enjoy it.
Yeah.
You got to work it, and maybe you get to attend and work, and that works. I have, friends part of the con horde, as we call ourselves, that some love working the conventions, others love attending, and some like doing both.
Yeah.
I personally would rather work it than attend, because you get to work during the day and then play at night.
Yeah.
There's tons of different ways of doing it, and I think I've got other friends who's like, why do you go to a board game convention every other weekend? Well, because it's awesome and you get to hang out with people.
Yeah.
And others, they look at it as work, and some look at it as play. If you could tell me I can go get more board games by teaching and playing board games, then sign me up.
Yeah. It is also a great excuse to visit places you wouldn't normally.
Yeah.
Since working this job, I have visited Columbus. I would never go to Columbus. You would be wrong if you ever thought I would go to Columbus for any reason. But Columbus is delightful. I'm sad that I'm not going to Origins just because I like that city a lot. Honestly, one of my favorite cities we go to conventions in. Dice Tower West is very cool because it's in Vegas, and that's just awesome.
Yeah.
If you want an excuse to go to Vegas, it's also very cheap to go to Vegas. So that's another perk of that one. PAX East is in Boston. Boston's cool.
Boston's cool. PAX Unplugged's in Philly. Philly's fantastic.
Philly's wild.
Yeah.
I will say this is the biggest weird disconnect for me, is that I went to Essen for the first time this year. It was my first time out of the country. Essen felt less like it was a different country than Philly did
Really?
to me, because everything in
fair.
Essen just felt like a city that stopped in the 80s, and Philly just felt like an ancient city.
Yeah, and I think to Santoro's point, the going to a convention, if you extend your trip on the front end or the back end, there's only so much vacation you can take in a year. So being able to extend that and really enjoy the city that you're in, or when we went to UKGE, we spent some time in London. When we go to Essen this year, we're looking at extending it on the front end or the back end and just exploring Europe a little bit more. So there's ways of making a convention not just let's get away and play games for 4 days, but let's go explore a new city. And I think that, again, back to the perks of what are some of those unknown perks. Well, if you're already going, you're already there, right?
Mm-hmm. Also, you can try the cuisine of these places. You could you grab some Scrapple over in Philly. Everyone loves Scrapple. I'm sad I didn't get it this time around. Is PAX Unplugged similar in size to Origins? I believe that's probably the closest.
It's the closest. Yeah, I think
it's outgrowing it though. I might be wrong.
I'd have to check that. I think when we looked, I think it was either right on target, but it's close. It doesn't feel. I feel like Origins feels a little bit bigger. Because it's spaced out. But in terms of PAX Unplugged, everything is kind of spaced out and closed off, even though there's maybe more attendees. It doesn't feel like a large convention.
Yeah, the gameplay area of PAX Unplugged was really weirdly laid out to me, because it was giant magic area separated the vendors from the board game players, which is very odd, because Magic's its own thing.
Yes.
Which I love. If you had to rank Cloudspire, Elder Scrolls, TMB, and Victorium in complexity, how would you rank them from least to most complex? I personally would rank Cloudspire the most complex. I don't know. You haven't played Elder Scrolls yet.
I have not played Elder Scrolls yet, but I do think in most games have that learning curve. And once you kind of go through that learning curve, the games just sing, right? And it's then teaching your favorite faction and not being able to play it, but you know it so well that when someone asks a question. So I think there's definitely the learning curve in any of the games, and if you give it the time that it needs to pass that, then they're all kind of on that same page. But Cloudspire is probably the most complex and from a learning perspective in my mind. Yeah.
Victorium, I feel like heavily runs itself once you, other than your decisions, I feel like or all the AI runs itself in a way where it's not very complex. So I put that at the bottom end. Too Many Bones and Elder Scrolls, I think, really are going to sit on the rulebook. So Elder Scrolls, I think, is immensely easy to teach. It is incredibly easy to pick up and play. It has stacking complexity in a way that Too Many Bones never will. Like, it is wild how much complexity you will get to, but it is doled out to you in such a way that it's building on what you already know, versus Bones, where you hand somebody like a dictionary and then you start playing.
Yeah, I think
Bones very good, but Bones from a person who's not touched it before is bad. So I think Elder Scrolls and Bones sit in that middle there, as in, like, I think Elder Scrolls is overall more complex. Bones is much harder to get to learn.
Yeah, I think the core mechanics of Bones, once you have them, is great, but then it's learning a new character is like relearning the game, I feel, sometimes.
I would relate Bones to, like, Root for, like, how I view that, because it's just like Root's base rules are very simple.
Oh yeah, that's a good
like,
comparison.
The characters are this is very different. But Elder Scrolls, like, I don't want to undersell the complexity. It is massive, but Bones is so much harder to start learning. But you will also likely never two-handed Elder Scrolls, or at least I really don't enjoy two-handing Elder Scrolls. I think it's bad, but I can two-hand Bones because I know exactly how all the characters function.
Yeah. But that takes time, right?
Yes.
But taking time means you're getting games to the table,
Yep.
which is not a bad thing.
Oh yeah. But like the two-handing in Elder Scrolls is like, I'm going to take these different skill lines. I'm going to build these all together. So you can two-hand within your own character, you know.
Interesting.
Yeah. You need to play it. I'll show you.
We'll have to make that happen.
Let me see here. I think that is all. Keep hitting us with those in the chat. I do like doing those. So I am up to my last one. Does Elder Scrolls have a true solo mode? Yeah. I mean, Elder Scrolls is balanced in such a way where you can play it solo. Like, enemies scale in a way where they don't snowball out of control. Like Bones, if you lose a fight, you almost certainly can typically restart your game because it gets so much harder playing from a loss. Elder Scrolls really sings. It keeps going. But solo, true solo, there's not like a solo specific deck, but it scales differently. What upcoming convention are you most excited for? That plays off the last one a bit, but
it does.
Are you looking forward to any?
Yeah, I think Adepticon will be interesting. I've never attended. Being from Chicago, kind of getting to go home. I know there's a handful of friends that I know attend, so that's always exciting, right? To be able to see people that you know and But then other than that, I mean, it's the big three, right? Origins, Gen Con, PAX U in the States, and then UKG and SN overseas. I mean, they're all different in their own way. But I think Adepticon will be the new one for me this year. So I think that's going to be the most exciting, just because it's the unknown, right?
Yeah.
Which is scary, but also very exciting.
Where is Adepticon? Is that
Schaumburg?
Yeah.
Schaumburg, Illinois.
I'm going to keep forgetting it. It's the one I've never been to. So
you haven't been either?
I've been to Schaumburg many times because we always stop at Wildberry.
There you go.
Check out Wildberry for breakfast and lattes that are good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I like Essen. It's a very cool hall because it is just huge. I am baffled that people compare it to Gen Con because it feels like if you compared America to, I don't know, like America to Russia in size, because it is huge. It's massive. Yeah. It's so much bigger than Gen Con. You people are wrong. Maybe the attendance is the same, but everyone's there every day, and it's huge and full. It's crazy. Also, everything's so spread out, and there is French fries covered in gravy everywhere for every meal.
It's not a bad
Giant pretzels. I did love how many soft pretzels I got to eat. One a day.
Just one?
Keeps the doctor with you.
I mean, we did have the breakfast pretzels in Philly at PAX U. I will say, if we're on the food topic.
What was it?
The
breakfast pretzels?
Again,
yes.
Go into conventions, explore the food scene, explore the city. I mean, the terminal was right across the street, tons of food options. And then you get to look forward to that every year.
That's another great thing about Origins too. But I thought because Origins has this place right across the street that's really good.
Yeah.
One at PAX U. Even closer.
Yeah.
And even better.
Even
like,
better.
the
Yeah.
food
It's
was
under the
so good. Since I said I don't like two-handing Elder Scrolls, does that mean I don't like playing solo? I like playing solo. I play 20 strong all the time. I play Too Many Bones true solo. I play Too Many Bones two-handed. Elder Scrolls is just too much to manage. You know, you can hold up to 8 items each, 4 that are ready. You have up to 4 skill lines each. You have, like, it's a lot to manage. It's too much for me to two-hand. I would solo Elder Scrolls though. It's fine. I haven't tried it yet, but I'll do it on stream sometime. You can see. I'll just do it. North Market, yes, very good.
Thank you. Yes, the North Market.
Are you expecting that you'll need ambassador help at all the cons named? Obviously something like Gen Con, but what about Adepticon? I think we have the open call for everything.
Yeah, I think
It's
right.
what's in the form.
Yeah, if you look at the form.
Check out the form. There's a link. If you look at the description on this, and you might have to hit read more, but there's a link there. It's right below. Yeah. Check that link out. It'll show you, and you can fill out what you're interested in. I know we will not need help at Con of the North, and incidentally, Con of the North is a great place where if you want to meet the crew who work here, that is the only people who work that booth. So that's the best place to do it. Come say hi to Amanda, Ryan, Brandon, not this Brandon.
Brandon with a Y.
Brandon with an O will be at that. I think that's the end of the list. Okay. Meet those folks. All right, that is all my questions for you.
Excellent.
If anyone else has any questions for me about why I don't want to two-hand Elder Scrolls or anything else, I just don't. I see there's some very small text on the.
I was trying to read that.
My teleprompter here, but
no.
I don't know if that's to tell me
You
a
can
secret.
go
Okay. So yeah, hit us if you have any final questions. Otherwise, do you have any thoughts? Any final overviews about conventions?
I think the biggest thing is if you're interested in going to a convention and you're not sure you can commit, at least fill out the form, right?
Yeah.
I know there's always the off chance that
you're not locked into anything.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's always the off chance that things happen and demand grows or someone ends up not being able to make it.
Yep.
And life happens, right? And that's okay. So I think that the goal is even if we may not be able to get you this year, we're always looking for next year. I think there's a big demand coming up for a few things that are hitting the market in the next year or two. So that demand for ambassadors is going to continue to grow. And I think that it's important to foster that relationship and be able to pull the people from this year into next year so that you're well prepared for kind of the demand that the booth is going to see.
Yeah. That's why I like having you on stream, because we have really upped our involvement with you as a person who works at conventions.
Hey-o.
You were just a volunteer through a separate program.
I was.
Started working directly with us.
I was, yeah. So it's been fun, and I think it's something I feel that everybody should at least try once. If you've never gone to a convention, highly recommend it. If you've never worked a convention, highly recommend it. It's such a different experience, but it's not for everybody, and that's okay. Yeah. But I think it's worth seeing how things operate, and it gives you a little bit more appreciation for how much love, blood, sweat, and tears goes into making a convention happen. Yeah. And I can't thank Amanda enough for the amount of work that she does.
Yeah. Yeah. Only Amanda.
Yeah.
You get to see a whole different side of us too. Like,
yeah.
We'll get to say in real life we can say swears.
Yeah. He's not wrong. He's not wrong.
Keep it professional.
I don't curse people out at the booth. It was a joke. I'm funny.
Debatable.
If you act chaotic evil in Elder Scrolls, will the guards come after you? They will not. There is no alignments in Elder Scrolls. And I don't believe we have the ability to just go buck wild in a town.
Not yet.
That being said, a little bit of spoilers. There are towns that are sometimes under siege, and you can do fights in towns. A little secret. Let me see here. When do you think you'll be able to stream a Roth playthrough? Hopefully next week. That depends on when these prototypes arrive, which I desperately hope is by next week. It would be a pain for me and my job, every aspect of my job, if they are not here by then. So I will say next week. If not, we'll not. But next week or the one after. Are the CTG polos as pretty as that Hades button-up?
Hey, they're close. They are very close. They're the black and orange instead of black and blue.
We have a lineup with Hades this year, right?
Yeah. We're going to talk about hats and funky shirts and all the fun stuff.
And then aside from CTG titles, what is your most anticipated game coming out this year? So there's this campaign for Cloudspire that's
Drink.
What non-CTG question or what non-CTG title are you most excited for? I personally have Townsfolk Tussle backed for the expansion content that I'm quite excited about. It seems like it's going to shorten it up and make it easier to bring to the table.
Interesting.
I also want to pick up a copy of Tiger and Dragon because I enjoyed it.
I've not played Tiger and Dragon yet. Really I know good. You, and you were so excited about it too.
It's got cool little mahjong tiles.
Is it here?
I think Amanda has a copy.
Yeah. All right.
There's a new Annihilageddon expansion coming out that is all verse 1, which is weird to me. And then I have a Lucky Duck detective game that I backed that I don't remember the name of that got delayed a lot. So I hope that comes this year.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about that one.
Nice. Yeah, I think I got to be honest. I have not looked at a lot of the new releases because we've been so focused on playing what we have. Yeah. But we also did a lot of conventions last year, and we're on the buy everything new thing. So we have a
what
to
was
be
the
played.
Everything new last year? Oh yeah.
We picked up a lot of train games recently. So like
games
Mini Rails, Mini Express. We picked up Sky Team, which actually played on a plane on the way for our honeymoon, which was exciting. We've been doing a lot of 2-player abstract stuff, which has been newly married, so trying to spend some quality time. But
have you tried those Sherlock games?
Consulting Detective?
Yeah.
Yes.
Those are really good.
Those are
good
awesome.
couple games.
We thoroughly enjoy those, so I'm going to talk to you about your other detective game that you were just talking about. So
I don't remember. If somebody knows in the comments what the upcoming Lucky Duck app-based detective game set in New Orleans with paranormal stuff is called. The Dark Quarter, that's what it's called. Hey. I remembered it on
there
my
it
own.
Is. Nice.
I intuited it. No one typed it. Let's see. Brandon doesn't know it yet, but he's about to fall into the Star Wars Unlimited rabbit hole. Yeah, it releases next month.
I will say that I have been big into Flesh and Blood, the TCG, and then I've been playing a lot of Crokinole. That has been our newest obsession. So a game from the 1800s has captivated my attention, which is interesting.
It's very weird. It's weird that that's just suddenly picked up so much steam. I feel like someone corrected about Star Wars Unlimited, said you're going to be getting into Lorcana. Is this true? Are you excited for Into the Ink Realms or whatever the new?
We started. Yeah, we got into it a little bit. My mom actually started buying cards and went to a card game store to get a binder.
Wow.
So that she can sort her cards when I was home over Christmas. So it's so it's fun. I don't know if I'm going to get into the competitive scene like I was with Magic and stuff, but
I can't tell you how strange it would be if my mom was like, I need to get a binder for my trading cards.
It was fun. We cracked a few booster boxes and sorted some cards. It was a fun family bonding experiment. My dad just walked by and laughed and was like, what are you guys doing now? And but good times.
Can CTG just take the money straight out of my account instead of making me wait? No.
For Cloudspire?
But if you send me your information personally, I'd be happy. Joking. Don't do that. I like Magic. There's a new murder mystery set that just came out. It's pretty neat. Neat. Back on Ravnica. Don't really care about that part, but the murder mystery aspect really cool.
It is neat. The new cards that are all different but the same.
All right. I think that's it. I think we're caught up. Last minute things, feel free to hit us. Otherwise, I'm going to do my closing bit, which is Riffle is close to unlocking, so remember that. Riffle's probably coming up sometime soon. So if you need to save up a tiny bit of money, Riffle's not that expensive. There's a normal cost of a gear lock, and you get a free deck of cards with that gear lock.
That is a beautiful
I guess you're
deck
kind
of
buying the deck of cards with it.
Yeah.
I will be at Dice Tower West. Feel free to say hi. I will have a copy of Roth that I'll be playing with media people. If you know any media people that you would like to point my way, do that. If you are one of those media people, feel free to send me an email. I would love to demo the game for you. Otherwise, Roth, hold that box up.
I got you.
Roth, this thing. Yeah, this will be in the hot games room at Dice Tower West. GameFound's hot games room.
Is that what it is?
I think.
If you see a box that looks like this,
Yep.
check it out.
Just go to the GameFound hot games room. Tell them I want mine Roth. And they will direct you to the table or the exit, depending. But if they direct you to the table, you can play the game. Rules will be there. Check it out. But yeah, I think that's it. Sign up the form. Once
Yes,
again, the
please,
form.
the form.
It's in the
Down
description. It's the
down
most
there.
important part.
You may have to
if
click
you're
read more.
interested, if you don't see the link, it is there. I assure you. Find the other link that says "read more." It will make it bigger, and you could see the link now. Click that and fill out the one that you're interested in being at. We would love to have you be part of our team. I think we're all good. All right, excellent. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. Thank you so much, Brandon, for being here.
Of course. Thanks
Come
for
say
having
hi
me.
to us at conventions.
Oh yeah. If you see me, I may have a Hades shirt on, or I may have my black and orange polo on. But do please approach and say hello. I go to a lot of other conventions other than ones that Chip Theory are at. So if you see my face, don't hesitate to come up and talk to me. Let it be about games, or let it be about working the booth, or anything. Try to be fairly approachable with some golden retriever energy from time to time. So
Yeah, you've got that standing like Harry Houdini challenge too, where someone can like come up and punch you in the stomach as hard as they can, and you can take it.
Yep. Yep. Guaranteed that will happen. So
Don't do that. He died that way.
Tricerion is a fantastic game, by the way.
Does that have to do with Harry Houdini? Is
It's
Tricerion
magic.
coming?
No, Tricerion's a heavyweight Euro game, worker placement. It's all about magicians. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Mhm.
It'll be
Interesting.
Fun. It'll be fun.
Also, check out Draw Polter. That was a new one. That was pretty fun.
Oh.
Do you know this one?
I do not. I'm going to learn all the things.
Draw Polter. You have to hold a bunch of crap in your hand, and then
Oh,
you draw
that's-
cards,
yes.
and you have to draw only that the crap shown on the
I
cards.
do.
It's really
yes.
good.
I remember you getting excited about that one. Was that at
Yeah.
PAX Unplugged that you picked it up?
It sure was.
Nice.
I'm gonna say we have that here too.
Oh,
You
man.
can play that.
Oh, man.
Nice,
I don't know if
nice.
there's enough time to play all these games. All right, let's get off stream so we can go play some.
Yeah. Professor Meg's here for the end. Hello, Professor Meg. And goodbye. Thanks so much for tuning in. Check me out at Dice Tower West. You somewhere else.
I'll be at Gamma.
Yeah, Gamma? I won't.
Yeah.
I won't.
Gamma and
But
then
you will
Adepticon.
be. And then Adepticon. Those are the new ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Goodbye.